You are listening to Unity in Our Community on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
I try and make more friends in small independent nations all the time. Estonia, Iceland, Slovenia, Croatia, wherever it might be. And they are flabbergasted that Wales isn't independent because they are small, successful, vibrant, independent nations. Some of whom have caught up with Wales and surpassed Wales in terms of their wealth and their quality of life since becoming independent.
Yes, yeah.
So they look across, and these are confident new nations, and that confidence has trickled down to the people who live there. They're ambitious, they're brave, they're willing to get on with it, and they're enjoying getting on with it because they have that self-awareness that they can. And it is theirs to do, and their future is in their own hands. And they look at us and they think, why on earth are you not independent? Take a weekend just, 2 weeks ago. Wales played rugby against Fiji.
Yeah.
An independent nation of 1 million people, and won.
Yeah.
And Wales played football against Latvia, an independent nation of 1.8 million people, and won. But Wales, although it's proportionately, by head of population, one of the most successful sporting nations in the world, behind only New Zealand, I think, Wales isn't independent. And if you're Latvian or Fijian, that's mind-boggling. Why are you not independent? But here in Wales, we can't see that. We've been here for so long. Even I find myself falling into, unionist perceptions just because I've been brought up with them all of my life. So I've been trying recently to really strip it back to the bare bones. And if you do that, if I challenge anybody and everybody in Wales to strip things back to the bare bones and to look at Wales objectively from the outside and to ask themselves, what does Wales have to offer? And the answer is fantastic.
A lot, I'd say.
Oh, it's amazing how much we have to offer. I mean, we obviously have natural resources. We obviously have acres and acres of mountains and fantastic landscape, vast length of coastline, huge amounts of seabed. We've got all of those things, but we've also got amazing people. There are 3.14 million people in Wales, educated, skilled, they're good to go. They can do anything if they put their mind to it. But there's a Welsh saying, pen and ein pli, your head is in your feathers. We're downtrodden, aren't we? Our heads are down. We're looking at the floor. We're not looking up. We're not looking out. We're not thinking about what we can do and what we can be.
I think I would agree to some level because I think that we're so influenced by the whole of British politics at the moment as well, which is very depressing for most people. I don't really speak to anyone who thinks, who says, I'm having a great time in 2023. Everything's great. Because obviously we're going through multiple, cost of living crisis. We've come out of COVID. Lots of stuff has happened. We've left the European Union as well. So I think that is really, really affecting Wales too. And I think we're starting to feel the impact of that now. Because obviously Wales was one of the biggest recipients of EU funding. So there's lots of things now where I think that people are just feeling, a little bit down, and it's hard to kind of, I love that picture that you paint, and I've always thought that myself as well. I moved to Wales in 2014, and I've always thought that. I moved right into the heart of Wales in mid Wales and near the Elan Valley, and it's just so stunning and beautiful, and you're like, wow, Wales is so resource rich, and I think there are those other countries out there that are leading by example, for like Estonia, that did all of their digital stuff, which Wales could do that, things like that. It's
amazing what they've done digitally, and Denmark too, the digital stuff that they've done and saved themselves vast amounts of money. And Wales could definitely do that. We're small enough to do that quite easily to Wales, and have very quickly become independent supporters. And these are often English people. They have no real connection to Wales until they move here. But they come here and they very quickly pick up on how unfairly treated Wales is within the context of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And that unfairness in and of itself is enough for them to say, right, that's it, Wales should be independent. And they've picked up on something that we often don't pick up on in Wales, which is the kingdom of equal nations, which will work. But it hasn't worked for 50 years. It isn't going to work for the next 50 years. And there's no reason why Westminster would want to make it work. You know, why would you set your priorities for 3 million people in Wales when you have 55 million people who are voting you into power? You're just never going to do it. And there's lots of interesting data and interesting research that has come out recently. Professor Richard Wynne-Jones, 10-year study. And the data is fascinating because more than half of the population of the entire United Kingdom is totally indifferent to the Union. They couldn't care less. And it's part of our role to understand that Welsh independence isn't just better for Wales. It will also free England to improve its lot and to be independent. It will free England, hopefully its politicians too. And you know, as a partnership of nations, Scotland, a reunited Ireland, Wales and England, in, you know, a British Union, if you'd like to call it that, but independent for independent nations, we could all thrive together in ways that we cannot now because of the way we're tied together and because of the inequalities within that relationship.
Yeah, what are those ways that we would thrive? Let's get into it.
Well, so there's been some very interesting things in the news today. So we've had the Home Secretary saying that multiculturalism is dead. And that
I have to laugh, sorry.
I know.
I mean, it's just beyond.
It is beyond because, you know, the United Kingdom is an island which is built on multiculturalism because it has Welsh, Scottish, English and Irish culture integral to its part, to its entire makeup. And, you know, when people say things like that, it not only reveals the depth of their own misunderstanding of the nature of society today, but it also speaks to their lack of understanding of the way in which diversity enriches everybody's lives. Mm-hmm. And that enriches lives economically as well, not just in sort of culturally. Obviously, it enriches life culturally, and Wales is an excellent example of that. Cardiff is a great example of that. I think there are over 100 languages spoken in Cardiff, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. And London is another fantastically metropolitan city. So they should know these things. They should understand that diversity leads to renewal.
When she says that, for me, it's kind of saying the UK's failed because you can't really separate the multiculturalism out because it's kind of, as a nation, who we are.
But the UK has failed. I mean, that's
yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, the people of the UK haven't failed, though.
No, they haven't. And the UK hasn't failed because it's multicultural.
No.
That's not the reason it's failed. I mean, the UK has failed because it's come to the end of its historical line. I mean, the UK is the product of a 19th century industrial revolution, the growth of empire, and then a 20th century which held the UK together because there were world wars, there was a Cold War. There were reasons. I mean, you could have made a reasonable case for the Union throughout most of the 20th century. But all of those reasons are gone. And, you know, the other thing about being the poorest part of the UK, which Wales has pretty much always been, is that, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you're the poorest part of a United Kingdom which is getting wealthier, you'll sort of accept it because you're still getting slightly wealthier even though you're still the poorest part. But now we're the poorest part of a United Kingdom that's getting poorer. And within the United Kingdom, in Wales, we're getting poorer faster. And, you know, even Ken Skates, former Welsh economy minister, said today that the Union is holding Wales back economically. He hasn't quite joined the dots in his head yet.
Say if we were independent then, what do you think would be different economically?
So the entire structure economically for Wales is just built wrong. I mean, there is no way we'd have the tax system that we have now in Wales because that tax system has been designed for the majority in England. It wouldn't, and it doesn't really work very well in Wales. I don't think we'd have the same fundamental architecture for our economy over time. I think that would change. You know, we don't have mega wealthy people. We don't need to cater to them in the way that, say, the Southeast or London in particular does. You know, we don't have to structure our economy around the financial sector in London, which there's an interesting fact for you. If you took the economic input from the financial sector in London out of the UK economy's figures, Poland is now wealthier than the UK.
Do you know, I'm not surprised in any way to hear these facts, really. But I also, I mean, I don't have the figures to hand, but I do know that we are losing a lot of money from Brexit.
Yeah, so Brexit has probably had an overall negative impact. I mean, the most recent research for GDP for the UK as a whole of about 4%, which is massive. You know, that really is massive. But we have to accept Brexit. Brexit's happened. It's done.
I personally, I don't accept Brexit.
But you can't roll back the clock.
No,
can you?
but
that's the thing.
Yeah, but I would like to rejoin.
So that's definitely something that is a debate that can and should be had.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it should definitely be on the table. I think that everybody's kind of been like, let's not talk about it. But, I think it's something that...
It's an important debate. I mean, we make lots of assumptions, though. I mean, people in the UK who are pro-rejoining the European Union assume that the European Union would be open to the UK rejoining. And if I was the European Union, I probably wouldn't.
No, but they have said it's always been like that. I mean, it has publicly been said by quite a few people.
Yeah, and they'd be willing to have a conversation, wouldn't they?
Absolutely, they always have been.
But the key for Wales would be, so once Wales is an independent nation, which it will be, it is then for the people of Wales to decide on their relationships, not only with Europe, but with other nations too. I mean, there are certainly nations who would be desperate to have much deeper and more fulfilling relationships with Wales. Ireland would be desperately keen to have much deeper ties with Wales for obvious reasons, not least to do with their potential for renewable energy generation, Wales's potential for renewable energy generation, and giving Ireland a pathway to get all the excess energy that they produce out of Ireland through Wales, some of it possibly into liquefied hydrogen and out of the Milford Haven port and around the world, and some of it then onwards through England and all the way to Europe through the already existing networks and connections that are there. But Wales is key to that for Ireland. So all of those things are true. I mean, we'd have a space. There is no doubt at all in my mind that an independent Wales has a space, a Wales-shaped space waiting for it in the international scene.
And on that point, I think I'm going to play a tune and we'll go to the news and weather and we will come back with this brilliant conversation. I'm very much enjoying listening to your vision of what an independent Wales could look like in the future. So we'll be back after these tunes and the news and weather. Stay tuned. You're listening to Radio Cardiff on 98.7 FM.